Everybody, welcome to another episode of NomadLand. We have Cash in the house, my lovely co-host
Thank you.
Yaya. We're going to be covering a lot of amazing things tonight. We're excited to have our guest.
Appreciate it. Great intro. Powerful. Yes. Hello, nomads. Welcome to your home. Welcome to my home. Welcome to our home. We're here with another special guest today, a friend, Chervin. We'll get to discuss a little bit about him, but just to keep it brief so you have an idea of who he is. He's the founder of Black Diamond Group, a green conscious commercial real estate firm that's focused on developing and financing sustainable living and workspaces. He's also the founder of Sacred Earth, a group dedicated to restoring the balance of Earth's precious resources. He's a very conscious brother. When I found him on Instagram, I knew of him in the past, and when I came across his page, I was like, this is not the guy that I used to know of. So it was very surprising to me to see that, and I was very, I enjoyed it. I was like, oh shit, we need more of these brothers.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyways, he's here to tell his stories. He's here to shine his light. Feel free.
Beautiful.
Good to have you.
Yeah, it's really good to be here. It's like it's a long time coming. That was a great intro, and that's interesting. I didn't know that perspective was there. I guess to a certain degree, when you run amok in your early mid 20s and you're you kind of go against the grain of the normality, and you're kind of outside of the circle to a certain degree, and those kinds of formality opinions are going to be created, and I carry a power and a strength, and I never really. Can we curse on this? I never really gave, I never really gave a fuck, and I just kind of had that mentality, for better, for worse. But it's been a journey. It's been a total full circle, and a lot of gratitude for being with you, your brothers. Yeah,
same here. I mean, me and Chervin, we've known each other for a really long time. We never had the opportunity to become close friends, but we would see each other and. Definitely. I mean, I remember you were always in good shape, and I remember you used to get a lot of girls, and people would talk about like Chervin's a player, this, that, So when and I completely lost touch with you for maybe 10 years plus.
Right.
And in fact, the last time I saw you, were getting your feet rubbed. That you were roommates with Ario. And some girl was rubbing your feet on the couch. That's the last time I saw you.
That's the
by the way, sure. If later on you decide you don't want something,
anything,
so don't worry about it.
No, you keep it all on, but that's good to know. I'm glad you brought that up. You brought that out there. So getting your feet rubbed is the best ever. I mean, that's reflexology. There's so many meridian points on the feet, but that's super funny. I remember meeting you when I was about 21. You had just come from Iran. Yeah, and we were in Lake Forest.
Maybe a few years, you
had been here a couple of years.
What was it, like 2000? Maybe we met, maybe?
It was right after 9/11.
2001. So I came here in 1998, so it's been recent.
I was 20 years old. That's unbelievable. Yeah. Wow, that's the time flies, but it's also slowed down. It just depends on how you look at reality. But the
life changes.
The reason I think it's important to kind of bring up that, okay, you didn't start off this way, is for people to learn and relate. Relatability is extremely important, especially when it comes to the things that we're about to talk about right now. So for them to see that, okay, where you came from and how you may have changed along the way, it's very important, and it's probably the best way of teaching. So were you always in this mindset that you're currently on?
To a certain degree, I started with it. I mean, I'm born and raised in San Diego. I grew up in a mainly white demographic in La Jolla, California. Went to Maryland's middle school, La Jolla High School, played all the sports. Wasn't really too much around Iranians growing up. Didn't have that perspective like a lot of my Orange County Iranian friends had, that kind of were cliquey, and they grown up around each other, and they were first generation. So for me, I was always kind of on that outside as soon as I moved up to Orange County, and didn't really understand it too much, but I got some of it. I have progressive parents. They came to America. They immediately clicked into the neighborhood. Most of their friends were American. We really had that kind of going for us. So I grew up with an American mentality with an Iranian heart, if that makes any sense.
So your family didn't limit to only Persians and just hanging out, finding Persian friends all over?
To be honest with you, it was quite the opposite. My mom and father, they weren't judgmental against Iranians. I just think they had their experiences. We're a funny culture. I think the Iranian culture almost represents the definition of ego in so many ways. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean that there's a lot of pride that sometimes gets misconstrued and misrepresented within themselves. And we want to be the best. We want to have everything the best. I mean, ego is a very dynamic word. So we can get into that later. But I was I grew up on the ocean. I surfed every day of my life. I was really in constant contact with Mother Nature. I was outside of anything that had to do with anything with nature. And I was mentored by my cousin. His name's David Wolf. He's half Iranian, half American. Our moms are cousins, and he started mentoring me probably around age 10.
Very influential, man, in the realm of consciousness and healthy living, right? I mean, a lot of people are for it, and there's a lot of people that are actually against him as well.
Sure, absolutely.
The people against him?
Yeah, I mean, when you're the face of the raw food movement, and you're the face of the natural movement, and you're the face of anything that's against social order, and you're against all basically governmental tactical deformities in our culture, you're going to catch a lot of slack. You're going to catch slack from the medical community. You're going to catch slack from other people that have a different version of the truth.
Actually act upon it. These people.
Absolutely, 100%.
That's crazy.
I mean, and they have strong claims to why they're against it or whatnot, right?
Sure. I mean, when you're threatened financially and you're threatened with the program that you've conditioned yourself,
correct,
you're going to fight like tremendously. You're going to do everything you can to discredit, to troll, to destroy the claims, and basically destroy the character. I mean, that's where we're in an information world right now, where if one thing happens, you know about it within 5 minutes. And that's fascinating, and that's a beauty. There's a beauty to that, but there's also a scary angle to that as well. He started the raw food movement. He tutored me when I was young. Most of the tutoring that I remember that I was getting from him was looking at a different version of the truth. And I remember at 11 years old, I was reading David Icke books. Are you guys familiar with David Icke? David Icke is.
I am, but I forgot. I was really into. Maybe long. Anyways, go ahead.
He created the concept that we're in a deep-seated matrix, and we're in our etherical bodies, and our whole society and everything that we're seeing right now is ran directly by a reptilian bloodline running through Freemasonry.
The British. Is he British?
He's British.
I remember now. Yeah.
He's from the UK, and
you agree with the things that he says?
At the time the basics of what he was getting across was completely accurate, as far as our banking system, as far as the Federal Reserve,
right,
as far as the police state, as far as fundamental flaws in our society, and basically looking back at the United Kingdom and America and how they had gained such power, and what lengths did they go to get this power? How much perversion did they cause in our history? How much lies did they spread?
It's interesting. And not to cut you off, but just to add maybe to what you're saying. That's the right way of looking at somebody, even if they may have a crazy message, right? Because there's so much truth in what he's saying, regardless of him saying we're lizards. Still, there's a lot of truth in that, and that's what we need to do generally. Just take out what actually means something. But to say the guy is crazy because he talks about lizards, that's you're basically cutting yourself short out of a lot of valuable knowledge.
Yeah, you got to take all the information and then pick out what you think makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and people don't seem to do that.
You guys hit it right on the nail. That's something that we come as human beings. We have the objectivity to have discernment. And discernment means that you're taking information, and whatever you want to do with it is your right.
Right.
That's the laws of our reality, and that's the laws of really having a full circle kaleidoscope of different versions of the truth. Ultimately, what is truth? Truth is what you believe, right? It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what the next person believes.
Yeah,
it's what you believe.
People are so quick to, they don't think about the crazy stuff they believe. But if something that someone else says sounds crazy to them, immediately everything they say gets discredited.
Absolutely.
So everybody believes in some crazy stuff.
And it's important to value other people's truths as well, because when we learn to do that, then we're comfortable with everything. Because I respect your truth and I have my truth, and we don't need to say, okay, you're right or I'm wrong.
Totally.
Now, sometimes we may operate on a higher level of frequency, and for that reason, our ego may come in and be like, oh, they're wrong. But realistically, their truth is still true.
Yeah. Especially when you're face to face with someone, and that kind of kills all your understanding. You're just ready to argue and disapprove of everything they're saying, you know, so that you just block yourself from learning immediately.
For sure.
Yeah.
That I think that's the problem with our society is that sometimes it's the delivery method that someone's trying to get their information across, and also it's the cognitive dissonance. I know you guys heard that term before, but essentially cognitive dissonance
Internal conflict.
It's internal conflict. You can hand someone a pickle and say, this is a pickle, and if their cognitive dissonance doesn't want them to believe it, they won't believe it, and they'll ridicule for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the level of where we're at today in this society, is that there's so much truth out there, but people's egos are so big that they can't even comprehend being wrong in any way, shape, or form. The fact that they've been wrong destroys their ego.
Yeah.
It destroys their whole livelihood. And I see a lot of that with a lot of scientists, a lot of politicians, a lot of people that are still holding on to their claim to fame as opposed to evolving. I have a lot of respect for a lot of people that have completely looked into their earlier teachings and have read the literature, have had the experience, went through the spiritual practice, and came out the other end with an honest take of what their opinion was earlier. There's a beauty into that. There's a vulnerability
Which
to
you
that.
don't see too often because
way.
financially it doesn't make sense, right? They build a business around that thought. All of a sudden they're like, okay, we sold you crap. We can't do that. But the ones that do are the ones that...
Yeah, especially with the food stuff. I mean, there's such a big industry, so much money behind it.
Right.
You know, so these corporations, there's so much power behind it, you know, so definitely they want to, and they can crush people.
Well, and they do.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in a debt slave world where we're basically conditioned that we're held hostage by our currency, it makes you do some funny stuff.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And that's where they get us. I mean, if you follow the money, it takes you up to the top of the pyramid. Everything is about the money, and it really keeps us separated, you know. And so just to harp back into the childhood, I was extremely rebellious. I had a lot of problems in high school with authority. I wanted nothing to do with authority. I couldn't handle being told what to do. It was inherently wrong. It felt wrong in my body to be able to be controlled on a basic curriculum that you're learning this, you're learning that. I had no connection with what I was learning. And one of my philosophers that I've really stuck with that means a lot to me is Rudolf Stiener. And Rudolf Stiener, he created the Waldorf schools. And I'm not sure if you guys heard of Waldorf academies, but it's a spiritual science of really applying education based around the development of the kid and not vice versa, where the kid gets into a natural rhythm of their life and they really start understanding who they are before they take on a curriculum. And then it's at that time that they discover the beauty of life and discover their spiritual entity of who they are in this universe.
But once again, that doesn't make sense because schools are built pretty much, and it was developed, 250 years ago, a Victorian system where it's basically operated by a ring bell to build factory workers. So everybody gets in line, responds to the bell, and just move accordingly. It's not about your getting the best out of your potentials. So once again, it doesn't make sense to do that.
Our school system's an abomination on all levels. It's completely corrupting the minds of young children today, and it's causing a lot of discourse in their attitudes of learning. And again, just to go back to Waldorf school, it's not essentially it's a school. It's basically a spiritual palace where a child is able to develop on their own without being given a curriculum. It's a free, enhancing, contained environment that has limitless potential on their own frequency. And Rudolf Steiner, he created the concepts of spiritual science, where he's basically bridging the gap between spirituality and science. He's putting substance behind it. He's creating an understanding of what spirituality means. And we can get down that later. It's an incredible find. I really recommend anyone that is really focused on their inner faculties and really focused on their development in this material world to take a liking to Rudolf Steiner's particular practices. And it's a heavy read. It's tough. It's difficult stuff. It took me years to really quite understand it. I think after I went through the Bhagavad Gita and the Hindu practice, I finally got what he was trying to say. So
what did you get out of that? What did you get out of Hinduism?
I got the concept that everything that we perceive is an illusion, and that nothing is real. and really understanding what the material world means. And what I mean by material world, there's different classifications, but most people think materialism comes in the form of money, comes in the form of cars, comes in the form of homes, comes in the form of that kind of stuff. But it takes it to another level of materialism where your physical body,
anything that's physical,
is material, right? And you are completely, separated as an avatar in this fundamental universe that is completely unbelievably crazy and wild and perplexed. And there's so many things that science has tried to put a name on it and classify it as, but they have no fucking clue. They have no idea. So
and how does that relate to a parallel universe?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you believe that we are mere images of ourselves or reflections of ourselves, then your perception supersedes your reality, which means, and to make that into easier terms, is we are just a collection of thoughts. That's it. Nothing else. We can't explain, we can't function, we can't do anything without a one place thought.
Sure.
And I think with the Bhagavad Gita and understanding the story of Krishna and really understanding what Krishna represents and getting into the deep level practicing of materialism was exponential in my growth, where I understand that I'm in a physical body still, and I can see a street and I can see the ocean. So I'm not a Hare Krishna who's chanting. Well, I do chant, don't get me wrong, but I haven't separated completely from the physical reality. And again, that goes back to Steiner. His teachings really show you how to go through that process. So just to get back, I
like that topic, and I mean,
sure.
I'm pretty fascinated by that myself, and it's a language that resonates with me. It's very simple, but it's so universal, and it doesn't require control. It doesn't require for you to do, pay a certain amount of money, or there's no guilt, there's no shame, there is no do this and you're going to go to that. It's very free, it's very open, and that's the beauty of that. So now you're saying that the book that you're talking about tells you how to take the good out of that and apply it to...
Which book are we talking about? The Bhagavad Gita?
No.
The Rudolf
Stiener. He's got like so many books. There wasn't one specific, but the fundamental.
I like what
law.
you said. How you said you took some things out of it, but still you have this understanding of other ways of looking at life and applying that to your life.
Absolutely, and that goes back to the discernment. Whatever makes sense to you. Okay. That's all that matters. I think when you deal with people that are advocating something or teaching something, it's a gift, you know, and you have when you open up that gift, you take a look at it and you go, oh, okay, I like that, or I don't like that. It's like a box of chocolates, right?
So my question is, how did he help you do that? Like, how does he help you navigate through your level of consciousness? That's what I want to know. And you don't just keep it short and simple.
Yeah,
sell the book pretty much is what I'm saying.
Well, Rudolf Stiener is a whole philosophy. I mean, he created biodynamic farming. He created anthroposophy. He created theosophy. He created all these fundamental and dynamic perspectives on reality and fundamental laws of how to grow your food, how to raise your children, how to do these things.
He would talk about everything.
Everything. I mean, he was a saint. I almost consider him as my astral Yoda. Him and Victor Schauberger, who's someone we'll talk about when we talk about water, and we get into like the health and whatnot. Sure. So it helped me realize my dharma. You know, where I am taking the action to create a reaction for my karma. Right. And where I actually have the power, as opposed to I'm just a victim. You know, I felt at certain times in my early 20s, I was really angry because I knew about the Illuminati. I knew about 9/11. I knew about all the fake wars. I knew about all these different things. I was giving lectures at age 19 at Stanford, at Berkeley. I've done a lot of the Iranians that know me in Orange County knew me as like a conspiracy theorist. This is before it became popular. And I was militant at that time. I was aggressive. I was angry. I was fighting. I would pick, I was in that kind of mentality, and I believed in evil. I believed in dark energy, and I had no spirituality whatsoever. And over the last 10 years, in a practice of grounding to
That's
sacred
what
land.
I wanted to get to.
Sure.
Okay. Finally got there, bro. So, yeah, because a lot of people do that. There's a part of you that's not comfortable with yourself, especially for these 15, 16, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that listen to us. I see that as a responsibility for us to tell them the things that nobody told us at that age. So by you being vulnerable and talking about that does such a big service to those people.
Yeah. I mean, definitely at that age, the way you think of, you can't change the world, and then when you feel powerless and you can't, those ups and downs, it's just so different, because you haven't reached those levels of being in touch with yourself and understanding the world.
And they're listening right now.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And you're the master.
we are all the masters. I
agree.
I am here, to become one with all. I think that having a powerful, healthy ego is so important to making change. But I'm here for the betterment of our reality, and I just want to make that clear. And so if I'm speaking to the younger generation, I'm 36 now, the 18, 19, 21-year-olds that are maybe caught up in understanding the manipulation that's taking place, because it's all over the place. I mean, with social media now, it's unbelievable. I mean, everything that pops up on social media is HARP, is Dharma, is this thing, this is going to kill you, that's going to kill you. I think it's brilliant. I also think it's you have to navigate carefully, because if you're indoctrinated with fear constantly and everything's out to get you, you cannot manifest into where you want to be. It's good to understand the knowledge in order to self-prepare and move forward and navigate a beautiful journey. And so, speaking on that, I was pissed off, I was angry, and it turned me into the Matrix. I took a right-hand turn, and I started making a lot of, I would say, good money at the time. I moved to LA, and I wanted to forget all the fucking shit I knew. And for a good 4 or 5 years, I surrendered and gave up and went directly into the vortex of the Matrix, and I saw the duality of life. And it was...
Which is what? What were you doing?
I was living in Hollywood. I had multiple girlfriends. I was all about my physical body. Because I wasn't in touch with my inner self.
You were 40 pounds bigger, right?
I'm 175 right now. I weigh 220, 225 consistently for a good 5-6 years. And I was training, 4 or 5 days a week. I was eating like a horse, good food. I still had my background of what needs to go in our body. And it was funny because I'd be like I'd be raging till 4 o'clock in the morning, then hopping on a red eye, going to Florida, and everyone I was around, I was talking about health.
Yeah,
that's all. That was my thing. Everyone came to me like, everyone called me for health advice. I was the health rager. Instead of the health ranger, I was the health rager, and I loved that. And that fed my ego and let me still continue the behavioral patterns I was doing when inherently I knew I was wrong. But I knew I was destined to get out of that. And it finally happened. And it was with the help of my cousin, David Wolf.
And that's a huge imbalance, right? Just to let it manifest through the physical body and completely ignore the mind and the spirit. It just creates such an imbalance. And I see that in the mental health field with some people that just constantly go to the gym and they're big as fuck, but they're just suppressing things and they're just putting it all inside and they're just lifting heavier and heavier. But that's destined to pretty much collapse at some point.
100%.
That's like me without the gym, basically, is what you're saying. But
yeah, right?
Oh, that's good.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, to speak on that,
it's
you're literally, I mean, in the material self, you're literally developing and putting on layers and layers and layers to basically hide what's underneath.
Exactly.
And also it's in this machismo, testosterone-laced patriarch world, which is an abomination. We should be back to the matriarch, just like every creature in the wild is a matriarch system. You're constantly in that state where I'm bigger than you, fuck you. What are you going to do about it? I'll steal your girlfriend. If I do, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And it was just, I remember looking at my mirror, looking in the mirror one night after like 3-4 days of going hard, and I just couldn't even recognize myself. And and then all of a sudden I just was like, I can't do this. And the synchronicity that occurred within 2-3 weeks of that moment.
It's like last weekend, man. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
but
go
yeah.
for it. Yeah,
No,
you had that feeling last weekend, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I was literally poisoning my body with alcohol, which is derived from the word al-ghul, which means evil ghoul. And I was doing other substances as well, and I just couldn't believe everything that I had preached, everything that I'd been raised on, organic food since I was a child, not vaccinated, everything that I've been. I just basically said fuck you, and then that was my breaking point.
Amazing.
Let's explore that a little bit. So then you start seeing the contrast, and it becomes bigger and bigger, and you're starting to see the conflict within, and you see yourself as a hypocrite, right?
Absolutely.
So what does that cause? What does that do to you? Was it creating any type of anxiety? Was it?
No, I mean it was anxiety the whole time. So, but once the Mayakopa happened, it was liberating.
I know, but I'm not talking about liberation right now. I'm talking about darkness. Talk to me about that.
The duality of it.
Yes.
It sucked, and I was masking it with female energy. I was masking it with all the desires that are completely unethical as far as a spiritual look, and things that I would look back on right now and just think are just silly, you know. So I was constantly in that state of affairs,
but not depression.
No, for sure. I was depressed. I mean, compared to where I'm at right now, I would say I was depressed. 100%. I was constantly upset, and that's why I was searching for things to get me out of that mindset constantly. And that's what we do. We turn to substances, we turn to emotions, we turn to sports, we turn to, it could be anything.
But that's why it's so important to go through those things, man, because that's sometimes the way to get on the path.
Yeah, to know that both, the other side.
So embrace that fucking darkness that you're going through, because later on you're going to understand joy so much better because of that. So stop saying, oh, fuck, my life is fucked. Be like, okay, let's take a look at this right now, and someday this is going to be so meaningful to me.
Dude,
it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
You hit it right on the nail. Unless you were raised in some indigenous tribe in the middle of Central America or South America,
or a saint that came back,
or you're Saint Raphael or whatever you are.
Fucking that crazy talk.
Yeah. then you need the duality. It's such a blessing. I'm so stoked that I was able to really compartmentalize those feelings and emotions I had during that stretch from age 22 to 27, 28. I'm so fucking blessed to have that paradigm and to see the shift in paradigm and to feel it and to tangibly feel it. And from there, I mean, I had my out-of-body experiences. I had my entheogenic experiences.
Let's talk about those.
I lived in Peru. I lived in Hawaii. I've done a lot of plant medicine. We can get into that.
Did you hit a rock? Yeah.
Before we get into this next level, I want to know, do you feel like when you were in that stage, the previous stage, do you feel like moving to LA empowered that? I mean, environment's plays a huge role, right? I mean,
Los Angeles. Lost Angels.
Yeah, I mean, I live in LA, I live in Hollywood Hills, and I see that lifestyle all the time, and it's just environment plays such a big role in it, and I feel a lot of changes in me since I moved there. I mean, not necessarily bad or good, but you see.
So hold on, are you ready to? Because you're a pretty, what do they call, proponent of Los Angeles? Like, you wanted us to all move there with you, so are you starting to like have this realization that?
No, you don't. Like, there's plenty of people who live in LA. It's just, I think, where you live in LA and what you do and your lifestyle. It's not that everybody who lives in LA has that lifestyle. There's certainly certain neighborhoods that are completely against that lifestyle, and there's people who, there's artist neighborhoods or people who are more awakened, more spiritual people live in these areas. But also, as a whole, the city definitely. I mean, it's a big rat race, and everybody's trying to get money and all this. There's all these things that I don't get myself involved with, and I find ridiculous. But it's like on the daily, you see a live Kardashian show going on,
right? Especially if you're trying to find success within that realm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's people that they just see that cover of that lifestyle and the Hollywood shit, and they're really acting like they're part of it when they're not. It's funny. We have a joke. I'm a real estate agent, so we have a joke. There's these certain agents that they're Hollywood agents, and they actually think they're part of Hollywood. They feel like they act the same as the actors do, and that like cocky style and the way they dress and shit. That we're like, man, it's just, you're just really caught up in that image. It's crazy.
TV's a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Tell a vision.
Say that.
Think about that.
Say it to him.
Well, they don't call it.
Kardashians are very
They don't.
successful, by the way.
They don't call it they don't call it television for a reason, because they're telling you a vision or a TV program. You're being programmed. Just to really quickly on Los Angeles, I almost moved to LA, moved Black Diamond Group, which is located in Newport Beach right now, to LA. My business partner, she's an attorney. She's from San Francisco. She's like, I need to be in LA. And I went to Peru, spent a month in the jungles, got back. We had already leased an office in Santa Monica. I was looking at a house in Topanga. And as soon as I landed in LA, I was like, nope. There's no fucking way I'm living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is filled with explosionary energy. Explosion is the opposite of the human life cycle. You're dealing with so much destruction on the highest order, and it's got a lot of satanic elements to it. And I'm going to say this, when I say Luciferian and I say satanic, I don't mean a devil on red horns, and I'm not even getting biblical. I'm talking about a dark energy, a dark frequency that thrives off hurting people.
Just dark energy. Everybody understands energy. Everybody understands darkness. Yeah, and that's what we got to stick to.
Absolutely. I have friends in LA and they're doing really well, but they're having a difficult time because they're open. Their frequency's open.
Yeah.
They've been shot open. Once you're shot open, you are very careful with the energies that are swirling around you. And LA's super toxic just on a material world. You're dealing with petrochemicals and Dow chemicals you couldn't even freaking believe. I could do the whole list for you guys and tell you the effects that has on the human body and your immune system, and what happens with your immune system by the time you're age 50, 55, 60, and it detonates on you. And that's how cancers and diseases start. I'd really like to get into health at some point and get into a bunch of other stuff.
Do
I
one
love that.
last thing before you do that, before we finish that chapter.
Sure.
So usually when people, and we talk about this on the show, I guess consistently at this point, is when people hit a certain rock bottom, that moment, that month, that week, or whatever, is when they finally start coming to change. Same thing with addicts, same thing with everybody that makes a huge shift in their life. Did you have a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll never.
What was it?
Like specifically like the incident, or
It could be anything.
It could be a
Sounds more
period,
interesting for
incident.
you.
Yeah.
yeah, I was I was treating someone that really cared about me bad. I wasn't. And I finally I was transitioning into where I'm at right now in the process, and my heart was opening up, and I realized how selfish I was.
That's a very sexy rock bottom.
It was
Yeah.
extremely yeah. I mean, it was someone that had stuck with me for years and had basically been just my rock, and she was the best ever. And I finally, it hit me like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
And that was my rock bottom moment. And immediately I ended the relationship with her for her own good, and moved to Kauai.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
And-
kind of happened with me once with one specific thing. This is years ago when I was much younger. One of my first girlfriends that I had, I cheated on her once, and then she found out, and I saw the effect it had on her, and I never cheated on anybody again. Just that feeling that it gave me, that's what it does to somebody. I never did it again. Yeah.
Bravo, man. That's called maturation, and I applaud you for that. It's so easy. The temptation is so full on. It's like it's getting worse and worse every day, and so I'm stoked on my maturity. You know what I mean? That's part of my dharma right now, is to practice that, along with holding my chi. I mean, I was one of those guys that had so much testosterone I had to either be with a woman or jack off every day, and now I'm
Transmuted that into something else.
completely. I'm holding
Let's
that
talk
butter,
about that.
that chi, and it's been great. I
So
learned.
do you believe in sperm retention?
Sure.
Alright, let's talk
What
about
is that? Sounds interesting. All right,
So,
Well,
the author of, and I'm sure you're going to say a lot more to it. I'm just going to make a little couple statements maybe here and there. But what's the author of Rich?
Rob Fukusaki.
Rich Dad,
Not
Dad?
him. The other one.
Fit Van Rich.
No.
Think Rich, Go Rich.
Yeah.
Fit.
Think.
Oh,
Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
Rich?
Napoleon Hill.
Sorry,
There
guys.
we go.
Sorry, guys.
So anyways, in chapter 11 of his book, he talks about that. He talks about sexual energy transmutation, and he says basically transmutation, where especially for men, our drive and our ambition comes from that lower chakra. It comes from that place where it gets Clinton to cheat on his wife and put his reputation on the line. So it's such a powerful thing. It gets what people conquer continents. It gets what men to do the craziest of things and build a life completely around that. And he says, look, it doesn't have to be about busting a nut. It could also be about shifting that energy upwards and getting it into tapping into your genius. And that's what he says. So you continue, I'm sure.
Instead
you
of
have
tapping
the thoughts
into something else.
Instead of tapping into the booty, tap into the third chakra.
Genius. I like that.
I can't wait to talk about this. This is my noni.
Because whenever I told my friends, they're like, "You're crazy, man. You're stupid. What the fuck are you talking about?" You know.
Chervin's like, "Shut up and let me get into this."
No. Can I go Instagram live right now?
Do your thing.
You guys don't work?
Okay, let's
go. Okay, so
just put NomadLand Podcast.
No, dude, you got
it. Every second, like puffing.
You have to follow me first. What happens? How does life get created? Through sex.
Yeah.
Right. A man and woman have sexual intercourse, and sperm is deposited into her vagina, and it goes through the tube, and out of all that sperm, one of them selected, and here we go, right? So we've taken for granted that act. We've taken the sacred energy of what that act means and what we're transmitting by that sexual act, and by really like understanding how the media has played its part in desensitizing us to how we should be behaving as lovers, as a society.
Porn, yeah.
I mean, think about porn. Porn is our how I was taught how sex works. You know, it's rough. It's how it's like there's no love. There's no sacred twin flamery going on. There's no heart to heart connection. We've all been raised that way. I was behaving that way. I still have to get out of that sometimes. It's conditioning, yeah. Completely conditioned, completely like took me and turned me into a monster in a sense, because I was perverting such a sacred act that is the abundance of our life. If that act didn't take place, none of us would cease to be here. Humanity would die, and that actually might be good for Earth. But to get into the power of our sperm and our seed, it's funny, once you're above the age 40 years old, they say that every time you ejaculate, it takes about 30 days for you to recoup that. Wow. So think about that. And you hit it really on the nail, talking about, you know, your lower chakra and understanding how that is a double-edged sword. And how there's a duality in that as well. And the duality that's there, especially for a man and a woman, is that's where we garner our strength. That's where we turn the power on. That's where we ignite the fire for our passion and what we want to achieve and our destiny. It's all about destiny. And by holding that as the Taoist immortals would do, these are from China. These are the Taoists. A good friend of ours, Ron Teagarden, is a Taoist immortal. He's the owner and operator of Dragon Herbs out of LA. They bring the best traditional Chinese herbal medicine. I would always hear him speak for the last 10 years. It's all about holding that qi and really, really understanding and having communication with the sperm. Those are life. They have a power. They have a consciousness to it. There's a frequency there.
So before that, yeah. So like not to ejaculate or basically have sex very often.
Absolutely. No. Have sex, but do not physically have an orgasm.
Correct.
Right. That's what it is. So the Kundalini that you actually experienced by accident is a similar thing. It's basically the rising and the explosion.
Definitely.
So that's an orgasm of its own. And some believe that should be realistically the orgasm.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, definitely.
And for the folks at home listening, this isn't about celibacy. I don't even like the word celibacy, because that's like holding back, you know, just being suppressed in a room. Like, that's not what this is about. This is about actually shifting that energy upwards to something even more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, depending on your life path and where you're at in this reality, maybe you need to be celibate. Maybe that's, you know, I had to. I couldn't go from what I was at and then just go into a harmony, you know, beautiful relationship.
Very difficult. Yeah,
absolutely. But you know, that gets you into the tantric and really understanding the dynamics of how a man can engage in this type of sacred act and hold his chi without releasing. And in fact,
Man.
that
Sounds difficult.
It's very difficult, and it's actually empowering, and it actually creates a more unified sperm count and a more powerful consciousness within that sperm. So now, instead of just operating with just yourself, you're just running around going crazy, you now have millions and millions of beautiful conscious genetics in your testicles that are sparking your inner flame, and it branches out into every area of your life, as opposed to just this or this.
And I guess also when it comes to creating a child,
there's no comparison. And these studies, you can research these studies. These are peer reviewed. You can take a look at it.
And some believe that it actually raises your frequency and your energy levels, where it becomes more noticeable to other people. Your eyes get a bit glossier. You actually have this physical appearance by that. Is that true? Do you find that to be true?
1,000%. There's a good book called The DNA Law of Resonance, and that book is specifically explaining how holding certain aspects of your life, including your chi, including your diet, including meditation, you will increase your toroidal frequency. There's an EMF, electromagnetic frequency, that's channeling around our body constantly.
Right.
This is detectable with all new equipment. This isn't esoteric.
Right.
It's esoteric, but it's explained through spiritual science.
Right.
So if you are in your resonance and you are completely humbled and you believe exactly that you are where you need to be, and holding your chi really helps you trust. That's another thing. If you're holding your chi, you trust. If your chi is completely out of your body, you're completely sporadic, and you're.
So
and
basically, you're saying it's a practice of not being impulsive.
Absolutely. Removes all egoic needs, you know, and really harmonizes your physical self, so you are now not in prison. Because
to your conditioned patterns of self-destruction.
Bingo, you hit it right on the nail. That's exactly it.
Right.
And it's such a beautiful experience, and it's such a kundalini, whatever you want to call it. It's such an awakening. It's such a spiritual process.
I wonder if there's a Farsi word for that.
For
I'm here to learn Farsi from you guys. You know, so
for sure. For Kundalini, you mean?
Or the chi, or life essence.
I could get on it. I mean, I could, start doing the research, finding what makes sense. But I'm definitely, I really think it is. If you look in this old like spiritual scriptures and poetry, specifically Rumi and Hafiz, I'm sure there are things that are going to be linear, and we could connect them to.
Yeah, I've read a lot of Hafiz and a lot of Rumi, and when you look at Sufi and understand that philosophy, it's basically what we're saying today.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have. It's just like the clean version.
That's the beauty of it. That's why I love reading old Iranian poetry, is because this one's written 800 years ago. This one's 1,000 years ago. This one's 600 years ago. But those things never change. Those basic things never change.
No,
Isn't that fascinating?
It's amazing.
That
it's timeless.
We're speaking English right now, which is a language that's been corrupted, they say, over 250,000 times, and we are speaking a lot of word magic. Just to jump in, like people say good morning.
Yeah.
Well, what does that really mean? Are you mourning anything?
Yeah.
That's word magic. When people say hello, that there's so much like corruption in the English language, that the fact that your native tongue is Farsi, which is an ancient language, which I think is the best ever. Really, I think that's an aspect that needs to be dived into. I'd love to be part of that whole thing, because a lot of the culture that I'm around, they are all coming to me knowing, most people don't know I'm Iranian, but once I tell them and this and that, they're so fascinated.
They are, and that's the beauty of the people that we probably tend to hang out with, because when I'm in different settings, they're like, it must be tough being a Middle Eastern. And then there's the other settings, they're like, it's exotic. They're like, oh, you guys have tradition. It just naturally get gravitated towards you. Let's bring that back. Fucking
for sure. 100%. The CIA trained Bin Laden.
When he was in dialysis.
Dialysis.
Immortal Technique, yeah.
The Saudi-born. I love Immortal Technique.
Yeah,
Good friend. Talk to him all the time. Him, B.O.B. Those guys. Yeah, those guys are great guys. They come to us. We have a private. We have a private organization that it's about 12 of us. Me, my cousin, and a few other guys that I probably can't mention right now.
So here's the thing. I indirectly try to reach out to him recently last week. If you do that too, that'd be beautiful.
Moral technique?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I was a big fan when his first, not the first two, but he put two albums out. And they were amazing. At the time when they came out, it just blew my mind. I remember I was on it all day.
He's sick with it.
But we almost what happened to him. I mean, I think
his interviews,
they really cracked down on him. It seemed. And
musically, but I just think he's trying too hard to help people around him, and that from the outside looking,
if it could help
it's his dharma.
Yeah,
that's what he's probably realized. So but it's a shame for us because I eat up his interviews. He had one not so long ago with Russian TV and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think they planted heroin on him at some point, or they tried to frame him. I heard something, but
Yeah, I mean, most people. There's an old Chinese proverb, and it's "Don't be the nail that stands out above the rest. You're the first to get hit."
Right. Yeah,
and that was a reality for me in my early 20s when I was talking all this Illuminati stuff and Freemasonry and Bilderbergs and Skull and Bones, and getting down that, and I got scared for a second. I had some run-ins with certain frequencies that I was always anxious about, and it came to reality. But at the same time, I'm like, now I know I'm protected, and I'm just like, fuck it right now. To a certain degree.
Faith is the highest form of truth, and fear is not real.
Yeah, for sure. The
fuel to our capitalist society is fear, so that's what's holding us back. So that's beautiful that you found that. But let's not get off topic with this Bin Laden talk. So you or masturbation or not masturbation.
Cousin Benny.
So you want to get into health, and I feel like a good segue to health was where we already were with the chief, and there's a lot of gut health when it comes to that world, and the importance of gut health. It's something I know just in the form of a sentence, but I haven't fully embraced. So make us a believer of how important that is and how our real heart is in our stomach.
What do you know about gut health?
I just know that kimchi is good for it.
Yeah, I know it's very important, and I mean, as far as the immune system and also digesting food, and probiotics are good.
Right. And when you feel pain, a lot of times you feel it in your stomach, and it's not necessarily your heart, which is interesting too. So stress, tension, everything is in the stomach.
Tune in to because you're gonna get scared, you're gonna get happy, you're gonna fall in love, something's gonna happen. Tune into that. Where do you feel it first?
In the stomach.
You feel it in your stomach.
Gut.
Anxiety, everything.
Deep in that gut. And there's it's no wonder why, 30-40% of this country is coming down with colon cancer, is coming down with ulcers, ulceritis, and all these
30 crazy, what was that?
It's about 30%
of the cancers or colon cancer?
No, the country. If you take a demographic of age 50 to 75, you have a really high probability of having colon cancer.
My aunt had colon cancer, and she was like a religious person. She never had one drink of alcohol in her life. Never, she didn't eat outside. She didn't eat processed foods, but I don't know. It's crazy.
I went through colon cancer with my father for, I'd say, good 2 years. My father is probably one of the healthiest, 65-year-olds I know. Ate clean his whole life. Occasional drinker. Doesn't smoke, but now that I understand that he held a lot of grief, a lot of stuff from his childhood, which is fascinating because when you have an Iranian parent, sometimes they don't disclose a lot of that stuff.
Absolutely.
But since my breakthrough, I've opened him up, and along with my mom, and very fascinating that you hold a lot of that grief in your organs, in your lungs, in your gut, and so I really think that's what it's formed, especially with all the toxins. But real quick to gut health, we're in an age where we're so detached from growing food.
Yeah.
Right. Where as opposed to 150 years ago, before the Industrial Revolution and before all the technology and all militarism and all that stuff, people grew their own food. They had a relationship with the food. They knew how they were feeding it. They knew what they were putting in it. They knew the soil. They understood topsoil, and they weren't filling it with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. All kinds of disgusting stuff. There wasn't acid rain because we're dealing with, our water's
disgusting.
hydraulic system of our nitrogen balance is completely out of whack. That's why I personally don't eat fruits and vegetables here. I mean,
At all.
I mean, very rare, and I have to know where they're coming from. It's extremely toxic. I don't care if it's organic or
That's
whatever.
what I was going to ask. So you wouldn't trust it even if it just says organic at the store?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. I mean, organic is another illusion. Organic just means that they're not spraying this, and this pesticide. But what are they feeding? How are they fertilizing that food? They're using a substance called NPK, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and that has completely destroyed the topsoil of this country and many other countries. And it's in the residues of that chemical that you're going to get all the GMO, you're going to get all the stuff that disrupts the healthy ecosystem in our gut. Our gut right now, the bacteria outnumbers every cell in your gut 10 to 1. Think about that. 10 to 1 is the ratio from gut health, from the gut bacteria to your normal functioning gut cells. And we're 85, 90, 95% of the population is eating NPK derived food that's basically been fed glyphosate. You guys familiar with glyphosate? Glyphosate, you need to know what that is. Glyphosate is a Monsanto designed herbicide that is completely destroying the topsoil of our country and the topsoil of the world. And what happens is it gets into our gut, and the mechanism that glyphosate works is it destroys bacteria growth. That's why they spray it on the food.
Makes total sense.
Then we're consuming those foods. It's going into our gut. Then the balance of our gut's getting destroyed. Not to mention we're breathing in polluted air. We're bathing in polluted water. We're drinking polluted water. We're eating polluted foods. We're watching TV. We're in a Wi-Fi electric smog bath 24/7. Our whole endocrine system is running amok. We're sleeping at the wrong time. We're eating cooked food. Dude, I could go on and on. I could go on and on and on. And it's no wonder we're being exterminated. It's no wonder that we're at such a high risk right now of heart disease and lymphomas and carcinomas and so many different tragic diseases that are destroying us, literally destroying mankind right now and limiting our potential to transcend. So to get to gut health, I think the best thing you need to do is get on a really good magnesium supplement.
That's what I want to get to.
Yeah.
Sure.
And while we're at this topic, if there are 3 things, or 5 things probably with you, 5 things that you would say
Is a must.
Is a must that everybody must take every day and continue eating whatever the hell you're eating. But
Sure.
take these 5 things. What are they?
Okay, so I'll just
and
do
look
it.
at Cash while you're saying that, because he won't take it.
Temple, baby.
Yeah, well, our body is our temple. We're definitely a prisoner in this.
He's gonna come back to this life as a Big Mac. I'm telling you.
No, man. Come on. He's a vegetarian.
That is true, though.
Are you still eating fast food?
No. He is
Oh,
a
okay.
vegetarian. I forgot about that aspect.
Oh, that's cool.
True. Yeah.
That's funny. We can get into that. Everyone asks me if I'm a vegan. What's my take on all that? I'm not going to answer that right now. That's
Good.
That's a long.
Yeah.
I get a lot of slack for a lot
You
of
have to
stuff.
answer that in context.
Totally in context. So look, we'll just do it chronologically on the rise. So I like to rise every morning with the sunrise. That's the natural cosmology. That's the natural circadian rhythm of our clock. We should be rising with the sunrise. And before I even get out of bed and go vertical, I'm drinking about 30 ounces. You can see this bottle right here. I'm drinking about 30 ounces of spring water. And in that spring water, I have about a teaspoon and a half of Celtic sea salt, not Himalayan, but Celtic sea salt that I've put there the night before on my nightstand, and that's ready to go before I do anything. And the reason why I drink that is because of my adrenal glands. When you stand up in the morning and you start moving around, you ever get up quick and you're like, the blood rushes to your head and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, what's happening is you've been horizontal the whole time, and you got vertical, and all of a sudden your body's like, what's happening? And then your heart has to increase and your adrenals kick in. Adrenals is a gland that sits on top of your kidneys. If you want to heal, it's all about your adrenal glands. You drink some sea salt in the morning. It naturally elevates your blood pressure. So you're basically telling your adrenal glands, hey, take it easy today. Save the fluid of the adrenal glands. Let's use it later. So you don't crash earlier. So you're not feeling that. Ever since I've been doing sea salt, it's like a biohack, right?
Yeah.
As soon as I started doing sea salt in the morning, my energy, my power, my intuition, my governance of like how I decide what I'm deciding to do today.
So number one, sea salt.
Number one, sea salt in the morning. Number two, jump on a rebounder. Get a rebounder immediately. A rebounder is a mini trampoline. You can get them anywhere. You want to get a good quality one. I jump on it for about 15 minutes.
That sounds like fun.
What that does is it creates a distortion in your body, a slight G-force, and it opens up your lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is the drainage system of the human body. Just like how a heart pumps blood through your body and whatnot. Your lymphatic is the same thing with a drainage, but it doesn't have a heart. So how do you activate your lymphatic system? By exercise.
Sure.
What's the best form of that is jumping on a rebounder. So a mini trampoline, I do that for about 10-15 minutes. I work up a sweat. Then,
is this number three?
This is number three. But, you know, I'm aggressive. I have an infrared sauna in my house, a clear light infrared sauna. I'm doing niacin supplementation.
Ben Greenfield's big on that.
I
don't
love,
know if you know about him or not.
Dude, I talked to Ben. Dude, Ben's
on niacin?
Ben's a
on niacin or on the sauna?
Infrared sauna.
On the infrared sauna.
Yeah.
He's huge on that.
As he should be. I mean, I was gifted one of the most incredible infrared saunas. I'm in there probably 3-4 days a week. I used to do it in the morning. Now I do it at night because infrared is a red light that goes with our cosmology at the nighttime. So I'm like tuned in to how light affects us. It's very fascinating. Just a little bit of light and it's touching your arm can fuck up your whole biorhythm. Yeah. It's so forget about staring at a blue phone till 1 o'clock in the morning. You're fucked. Just give it up. At that point, you should just move to Vegas and just marry a hooker and just go that route.
I'm at that point right now.
I mean,
I'm like, on my phone at nighttime. It's the worst thing.
It's literally a death trap. Sometimes I get caught into it because. Dude.
But one of the dope things about the sauna thing that I noticed, and I love when I'm into different worlds and so they somehow connect, is when he's in a sauna, I noticed that he started doing some Kundalini breath work and exercises, and I'm a big component of Kundalini, and that's one of my missions to bring on this show for people to know more about it. And he does a lot of those exercises.
It's a great time.
You wish you had one, don't you?
It's a great. We'll make sure we get you guys some.
Let me ask you about the sauna. So it's actually, is it an actual hot sauna or no? It's just the infrared thing.
It's an infrared sauna. So infrared works by a spectrum of lights that runs in the infrared spectrum. So you're not raising temperature by an external force like a standard sauna. It's getting you internally, and it's turning on your sweat glands. It's churning things up. It's moving things around, and so you can tolerate it well because you're not sitting in there and it's not like super hot, right? Which is actually kind of destructive to the human body.
Like in Bikram or something.
He
like
even
super
has
hot.
those lights in his office sometimes, I've noticed, right?
No, 100%.
It's not necessarily in the sauna, yeah.
I have them. Cool. I have them all over my room. I have them all over my house. I've took on all the LED lights out of my house, all regular. Any of these lights, they're gone, completely out. It's you really need to. That's the foundation of health is understanding how the human body functions, and just think of your body as being back in the wilderness 300 years ago without any of this crap.
Sure.
Just that you just get into that space, and then you can understand why these work. Once you understand that we're flesh and bone, and that we're not designed to be in concrete jungles getting hit with all kinds of crazy frequencies and poisons and toxins and electric smugs, then you can understand why these things help us and get us back to that.
Let me say something, though, and this is something probably Eric should have said. To play devil's advocate, a lot of people are going to say this is placebo.
And infrared sauna?
Or the trampoline, or whatever the fuck we've been talking about.
None of these are placebo. Your NASA scientist on that sweater you're wearing, they consider...
So let's talk about that. And flat Earth?
I'll get into a little bit of our cosmology.
Do you believe in it?
Hold on. Let's do the 5 points because actually I have a question.
Let's do a couple more health.
Okay.
And then
let's do the
and
five,
then we'll get
top
into
five.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Top 5. Activated charcoal.
You said the niacin.
Niacin. Okay. Well, niacin is vitamin B3, and what it does is it dilates your blood vessels and causes an exchange. So, have you guys done niacin before?
I have. I had a crazy.
So you had a
that's
flush?
what when I heard it. Yeah. I had to do a drug test with my PO. And someone told me, I took like 10 niacins. This was back in high school, and
You burned up?
Shit, man!
You went on
I
fire?
was red, itching, sitting in the bathroom in the high school in the corner, tripping the fuck out. Am I gonna survive this? What's happening?
That bad?
Horrible. It was a horrible experience. Yeah, for like,
That-
it took me 3-4 hours. Yeah.
That is a funny story. That's how I learned what niacin was in high school. I had a lot of friends that were like getting drug tested or whatever, and they would take niacin. I'm like, what the fuck is niacin? And then come to know it's vitamin B3, and it's water soluble vitamin that causes a reaction in the body where your blood vessels are dilating, and it causes kind of almost a scrape of excrement off our cells. Our cells have filth on it, have chemical residues, and when you do niacin in the morning, you're basically causing a detoxification. And I think almost just as important is combining niacin with activated charcoal. Activated charcoal was turned on to me by my cousin David Wolf, and he really broke down the science of what charcoal is. I think charcoal could be one of the most important substances in our reality today to the physical body. And you guys need to be on charcoal 24/7. Charcoal is basically the ash of like a coconut husk or whatnot. And what it does is it has an innate negative charge. And when it comes into our body, most people think charcoal is good for you because it just, it's porous and it sucks everything out.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But the true magic of it is that it's negative charged. Think about this. See what I'm holding in my hand right here? This is called a zapper. This pushes a negative charge. We're getting hit by positive charges. When you're in an airplane, you're getting nuked with positive charges. When you're holding a cell phone, the radiation, that's a positive charge. Our body's fundamental system is running on a negative charge. That's why you always see like videos of me grounding. My feet's in the dirt. Why is my feet in the dirt? Because the earth has a Schumann resonance that's pumping a magnetic negative energy.
David Wolf is big on that, isn't he?
Dude, grounding has changed my life. It completely. There's a whole movement
I think
regarding
that
grounding.
was his number one thing. I saw a video on that one time, right? And he was talking about the importance of just walking barefoot.
Totally.
It's like if there's one thing you want to do, it's that.
It's so fascinating that I've seen now. I've gone to emporiums, I've gone to lectures, Stanford biologists, Stanford endocrine doctors that are the biggest proponents of grounding. It's
and I've been about that my whole life without knowing the science behind it. I just love it.
It felt good
walking barefoot on the outside,
right?
It's crazy.
And people are like, "What the fuck? What's crazy? What are we doing, crazy hippie?" I'm like, "It just feels good. It feels right. We don't have shoes, for the first couple of million years."
Absolutely, we're so separated from the earth.
Yeah.
We need to get back into it. So back to activated charcoal. It's a negative charge. It goes into your body and it immediately sucks up all the toxic shit. And so if you're taking it right after niacin, you've put it. You got a little hack there, and that hack is cleaning your peripheral. It's cleaning your thoughts. It's cleaning your heart. It's cleaning your kidney, your liver, all of that, and it's pulling it directly out. I am a big, huge fan.
What does it mean?
Of
Activated.
It's activated, so it's charged. The way it's burned.
So someone actually takes it and charges it and then resell it.
Well, the burning process. There's an alchemy there.
Oh, I see.
When you change the substance, whether you're freezing it, whether you're gassing it, whether you're using one of these. This is a nebulizer that I'm breathing in platinum and gold right now. These certain things, there's an alchemy to it, and the alchemy on the burn exchange creates a negative packed charge, which is exactly what the human body craves and needs. I go to genius levels when I'm on charcoal and some other good substances.
You're just taking in platinum and gold right now?
Yeah, this is a medical device. You can't buy this. This is just for my own. I'm not selling these or anything.
That's not some Rick Ross shit, man. Just like straight up smoking the platinum and the gold.
This is what this is. So I have a lot of chemist friends, and
that's crazy, man.
I didn't
even know that exists.
It exists. They were able to reconstitute spring water, remove all the parts of it, and then alchemize gold, silver, platinum, into 3 to 4 parts per billion. So it's so undetectable. And this is a nebulizer. It nanosizes the particle, and I breathe it in. Now, this is a good thing to understand. We used to hydrate through our lungs before we fell. That all the scriptures, all the ancient philosophies understood that the lungs is how we hydrated. Right. It wasn't by drinking. It was our skin absorbs and our lungs hydrate. This is the number one way to get medicine, is to breathe it in. And it's the number one way to harm yourself. That's why people are taking hot showers. Think about it. Just think, forget about smoking. Smoking is one thing, but a hot shower in a municipal water, what's happening? It's not only is your skin absorbing everything, but you're breathing in all that shit.
That's how you get sick.
All those microagents and lead and fluoride and chloride and chemicals.
Oh, in the shower.
In the shower, dude.
Isn't it amazing when you take that cold bath, you just feel like you're a new human being? It has something to do with that, that's for sure.
Cold is everything. Cold is longevity. Wim Hof is a good friend of ours. I got to spend some time with him.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of David's. He came to our longevity conference. He blew that place apart. That thing, there's 5,000 people. We went berserk. This was 2016. So we have a longevity conference that we run every 2 years, and a women's wellness conference. Every speaker you can imagine.
Passes, bro.
I got you. I got you covered for that. It's an implosion of just beauty and power, and people bringing in authenticity. It's unbelievable. I learned a lot from Wim Hof, and
the energy level must be crazy when you're in those little conferences, huh?
This is massive. We're talking about 5,000-6,000 people going fucking berserk, losing their goddamn mind, going crazy in the best way ever. But real quick, cold is everything.
Cold is everything.
Cold,
remember that, listeners.
Remember,
cold is
take
everything.
a cold shower in the morning and see what happens to your neurological functions.
And don't masturbate in the shower. Huh?
Yeah.
2 things.
It's hard to do it with
3 things. Now that you mentioned the no masturbation, 3 things now.
Yeah.
No, the Wim Hof. I just really quickly. I don't even know the exact steps of his exercises, but one night this guy sat me down and I practiced. I remembered maybe 30% of what it's supposed to be. So I had a recording session I was going to record a few songs, and I'm like, let me try this out, because last time I remember I did it, I didn't need to breathe for a minute or 2 or 3. So I did that before a recording session, and it was amazing results, because I didn't have to take any breaths. I was just going the whole verse at it, and I was just
crazy.
So comfortable.
Some people double their push-up amounts by just doing that. It's insane. That's nuts.
Yeah.
The reason I figured it out is because I dealt with anxiety, and I know a lot of the people that are listening do as well. And that's one of the things you definitely want to try if you deal with little anxieties here and there. I don't know about chronic anxiety, but just random anxiety attacks, do that, and I promise you, if you do it right, it will disappear.
Yeah. And I also have a shower question. I'm sorry, man.
Sure.
Because you keep bringing these subjects up. And
Yeah.
But I was talking to a colleague yesterday about health and what to eat, blah, blah, blah. He was giving me some advice, and he said when you come out of the shower, I don't know if you know anything about this, he was saying don't dry yourself. Your biggest organ, leave the water on for a while, because your body absorbs it. It's really good for your skin.
Depends on the water.
Yeah.
It depends on the water. What are you guys showering right now?
What do you do? Did you change your shower head? Is that how it works?
Oh, completely. I mean, I have a full-on 3-system spiral of vortexing the water, structuring the water, alchemizing the water.
2 Asian girls with buckets of water, just pouring it on top of you.
100%, and rubbing my ears,
dude,
putting goji berry on my balls, and
backslapping
I
it
like
if they
that.
make you come.
I like that. So yeah, and you feel the physical difference from yeah?
Oh my God, once you get tuned in to how the human body functions and what the human body deserves, you realize that you really treated it like an asshole. You know what I mean? And it's backed you up. It's supported you. It's taking care of you through all the shit, all the cooked food, all the desserts, all the sugar. I mean, I can do a whole podcast on sugar and how sugar is literally one of the most satanic agents in our reality. Sugar is the death to the social order. Our body's filled with parasites. Think about that. My body still, no matter how much a detox, and I do detoxing. I mean, I go intracellular detoxing. I'm talking the most gnarliest enemas, from stem cell therapies to like underground Navajo type stuff, pulling toxins out of my body where I'm like on the brink of death. I still have parasites in my body. You eat one piece of fucking raw fish, you have parasites for the next 2 years.
The crazy thing about sugar, though, is that I'm always on and off on hardcore, softcore keto.
Okay.
And whenever I introduce a bit of sugar into it, I literally feel like I'm getting sick. That's how bad it hits me.
Totally. Your body
My
immediately.
system's like, what happened right
Yeah.
now?
Remember, sugar comes in a million forms.
Yeah.
So it's not eating what's the Persian sugar? The cubes? What do they call that?
Gand.
Gand. It's not just that.
It's the cubes of
It's
death.
processed. Yeah, cubes of
Yeah,
death.
processed foods. It's in
food,
bread. It's in
potato,
whatever. Yeah.
starchy
Right.
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah.
Think
fruit
about
for
that
sure.
for a second. Most of the fruits in our country are hybridized GMO fruits. I don't care if they're organic; they're still hybridized. They're not designed to how we're supposed to eat.
Yeah.
We're supposed to pick the fruit off in the indigenous jungle that it's growing in, and because it reeks the benefits of the minerals in that soil that's coming off the mountain above
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's how you eat a
Yeah.
goji berry. You don't eat you eat wild crafted goji berries. You don't eat goji berries that are grown in some factory. That's
Yeah.
I mean
every fruit that we eat is nothing is in its original form. That's what I mean, especially in America. In Iran, the fruits are different.
Sure.
They're ripe on the tree, and
Yeah.
then they bring them to the stores. Or they used to be. I mean, I'm sure it's changed. But in America, they don't even have taste most of the time.
No, they're completely devoid
Yeah,
of taste, and
garbage.
they're just it's a weight product at that
And
point.
I'm with you on the no fruit thing. That's probably for me. It's the easiest way of not eating sugar. But we had Fabian here last week or 2 weeks ago. Realization Nation on Instagram.
Hey, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I know him through separate parties.
Consciousness Tribe.
Consciousness Tribe. I really like it.
And
I
he's
really
big
like
on
him.
fruits. I don't know if you've noticed, and
Is
been
he
sending
a
some videos whenever he
frugivore?
takes
Oh,
fruits now.
Is he a
Yeah.
frugivore?
I don't know what that is, but he's
No,
always
no.
eating
Frugivore is when
I mean-
you that's like your main diet is you're eating.
I
fruit.
think so,
No,
yeah. Especially when he
did
comes back from the
I
Amazon.
think he said he doesn't like gorge on fruits, but it's okay to eat fruit.
Yeah.
Oh no, he goes
Tom,
crazy.
does
on
he?
fruits.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Look, fruits are fantastic, and vegetables are here to nourish us. Fruits are here to detoxify us. Just understand the difference.
Interesting.
It's
Blueberry, raspberry.
raspberry.
Okay.
But I love the blue. But most blueberries are just too sugarish, and you're not getting it. If you're getting it from the right source, then you're good. That's the rule of thumb. Fruits in the right moment make sense. Like if I do a freaking massive vigorous workout where I've fatigued my body's filled with lactic acid, I've ripped muscle, I've fatigued my mind, and my cortisol's up and all that stuff, then I can introduce fruit into my body, because then my body reeks the benefits of that fruit, as opposed to you're just sitting there eating fruit, your pancreas is like, holy fuck, your blood sugar is spiking.
Kind of use it like glutamine or something.
It's
right?
exactly like, it's the same concept. Your body's absorbing it at the right moment when it needs it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Your pancreas knows how to shuttle insulin properly, as opposed to if you're just constantly eating sugar, your pancreas is out of whack, and a whole host of diseases, from not just diabetes. I mean, I can go down the list of so many diseases that are ran by sugar. And one last thing on the parasite thing. Most of our emotions, most of our thoughts are parasitic. I want you to comprehend that. The parasites in your stomach is what fuel your thoughts and cravings for beer, for chocolate, for this, for that, for this. It's the parasites, because once they want it. Once you start doing die-off, which is basically detoxification, you go into a process called Hertzheimer. Hertzheimer is your body's physical reaction to all the die-off of the bad shit in your body, and it's like a fever and all that stuff. It's around that time that the parasites, they're a parasite. You're the host. They can only survive as if they feed off you and you stay alive. If you die, they die. Their DNA knows that.
Yeah.
So they send signals neurologically up every neuron in our body, and signals, I want this, I need that, I'm craving this, I'm craving that, I need to have this sex, I need to,
And
you know what
that's
I mean?
beyond food in general, right? That's any form of addiction.
Any form of addiction, absolutely, 100%.
We're getting very excited, all of us here. We're getting all over the place, if you haven't noticed, which is a great thing, and that's what a good podcast is. I love this one so far.
Chervin's going to be a regular guest for sure. We got a
Yes.
lot to cover with this guy.
If you honor us with that, as our something correspondent, title it really nicely. Consciousness / health /
You got it. I'd like to do one last thing on our subconscious, because I think this is really important.
Okay. We're not done, by the way.
Oh
No, not at all.
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
We're just saying that regardless
I
of how
still-
long tonight takes.
Yeah,
you gotta
and
be
I
coming
still
back.
have cacao and stem cell. I want you.
Yeah,
to talk
yeah,
about
Okay,
it.
why
for
don't you
sure.
go? Why don't you go through that, and then we'll circle back.
All right, you got to give me shorter answers though, bro. And not that I don't enjoy those, but because of the show.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm,
Can I
I'm
end
giving
on
you
gut health?
clean
'Cause
answers.
can I end on gut health real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
No, because like someone very close to someone.
Show
I-
your belly as you're talking about.
So no, someone I dated, because you were touching on the importance of gut health. It's absolutely important. Someone I was very close with that I was dating, she almost died because of poor gut health and because she had the wrong, she had basically because of using too much antibiotics. She had lost all the good bacteria in her gut, and the wrong type of bacteria had grown in her gut, and she was very close to death. You know, she had to go through surgery in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and then it took almost a year for her to kind of get back into the rhythm of things. You know, it's crazy.
That's exactly what an antibiotic is. It's killing life.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't realize the medicine just because the doctor gives it, that doesn't mean it's good for you or it's healthy. It's even over-the-counter stuff, you know.
Our doctors in this country go through medical school, and in medical school,
Zero nutrition
zero.
knowledge.
Yeah, predominantly they're running on Red Bull and cigarettes and coffee, and so they're coming out of medical school sick and emaciated and wasted.
They all look sick, most of them.
My
They
doctor
all look
friends
sick.
all smoke and do the most amount of drugs.
Right. So,
And the
so
interesting
what does
thing-
that tell you? That tells you we're in a satanic energy reality where this country's designed and this world is designed to get you sick. This isn't a movie. This is a reality.
Designed.
It's-
what do you mean by design?
there's
Why
an
would you call it
architecture.
that?
There's an architecture to this.
I think it's the collective consciousness.
I mean, the collective consciousness is hopefully waking up to the illusion of our medical system.
It's going to take time.
How about this? Charles Ford, who's a president and unbelievable character, he said the three economics of the United States is war, consumerism, and disease. Those three. He said that. I forgot what year that was. That was in 2030. That is the economic model that drives this nation: war, consumerism, and disease. Dis-ease. Think about that for a second. And why I was bringing up doctors and going through medical school. Any shaman you go to in wherever, or the healer, they are the healthiest people in the village. They are the people that are genuinely giving you a frequency of health.
Right.
We have decided that in order to heal in this country, it's a chemical response. It's a pill. It's this. It's that. That's not healing. That's not what Tesla did. That's not what all these. It's a frequency. It's a vibration. That is the true testament of healing, and that's why most healing modalities out there today are based on frequency patterns, cymatics.
And that's interesting because I'm in the mental health field and I see the lack of understanding of that field.
Yeah.
I see a disconnect there in regards to both energy and spirituality and food. You know, my thing is, you bring a mental health patient, I want to know what your diet is before anything else.
Bravo.
But if I say that in my field, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? They don't have time to eat healthy. You know, I'm like, dude, it's important. It affects your mood.
Yep.
You know, let's not go back to childhood. Eat something right. Let's see how you feel.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's not go back to childhood. What's happening right now?
Right.
Intracellularly in your body. That's beautiful. I remember that.
Thank you.
And I think it's I think people are waking up. I mean,
Slowly.
It's
Slowly.
Just in the past 20 years, I mean, now it's more than ever, but absolutely. I feel like in the next 10, 20, 30 years, it's going to be such a major shift compared to like 50 years before that.
Right.
Because, I mean,
it's a socioeconomic thing. I mean, like when you're on the West Coast or you're on the East Coast and you're in, areas that have a higher income, you're going to get people that are educated, that understand, that have associates that are, this and that. But when you get into like the third tier poverty sections of the world, these people they don't give a shit about, taking astaxanthin because it's going to lower your inflammation and it comes from a crustacean and off of Iceland. They don't even know what that is. They don't even understand how vitamin C works in the body. They just know that's maybe good for a cold. So it's socio-economical, and that's part of the architecture that I was discussing, is that it's the poverty that's, paying for all of this crap. Most people that I know that are in my circle, they don't take prescription drugs. They know all that stuff's toxic. They know these things. So it's getting the message out there, and it's also bringing it to the corner street and having people understand that these are fundamental, easy things that you can do, easy methods to make things a little bit easier. Right.
So, two things.
Sure.
You have us 5 points. I think maybe you give us 4 of them, but what to do. And so, are these things just
magnesium bicarbonate? I'll just jump in there right there.
Sure.
That might be
Okay,
the
so
most.
that was it.
That might be the most essential, electrolyte mineral in the body. Have you guys ever taken like a lot of magnesium and then you have the runs and you just like moved?
No,
move
I mean I
things?
take magnesium every day. That's
What are you taking? Like
one of the
like,
two things that I take.
Costco brand.
Are you taking like a citrate or
Trader Joe's. I don't know.
Instigator. We love
never shop at Trader Joe's. It's just,
Never shot. Oh
Dude.
man, see that's the fucking
Trader-
fucked up thing with the
because
food.
they make you think Trader Joe's is healthy.
Exactly. Every time you take organic, so
Trader Joe's is the king of
Let's
GMO.
get to my next question first, then, because my next question was
Magnesium bicarbonate.
Most
guys.
people at home, me included, we're thinking of we want to eat healthy. What do we do?
Yeah.
Where do we shop? Where do we get our food?
It's great. That is the number one question I get. I get probably 30, 40 messages a day, whether it's email, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whatever the hell it is, LinkedIn, is where the fuck do you get your food?
Yeah.
What are you eating all day?
Hunt.
And, I personally have limited the range of food that I'm eating. So like I have very specific items that I'm eating. And if I'm sourcing produce, I'm getting it from a biodynamic farm. One of them's in Laguna Beach called Bluebird Canyon Farm. They really understand the principles of Rudolf Stiener and understand exactly how to plant food, how to keep the soil healthy, how to like grow depending on our cosmology, where the sun and moon is, understanding the waxing and waning of the moon and the rotation of everything. They really dial that in, and then they bring a love frequency to it. So if I'm eating produce and stuff like that, I'm getting it from farms like that or farmers markets that I know are on the level. But for the most part, I have a very simple diet. I know exactly what I'm putting into my body, and I know exactly when I'm putting it in my body. And that's another thing. It's not so much what you're putting in, it's when you're putting it.
And you think that's possible for everybody to do? Daily lives, the jobs, time, kids, schools, this, that?
Well, I mean, it depends. What do we consider possible?
Because you have to be dedicated, obviously.
Gotta be dedicated. Yeah. I didn't know I was going to be able to do Machu Picchu barefoot for 3 days straight on the most incredible medicine, going completely out of my body. I didn't think that was possible. I did it. You know what I mean? I didn't think it was possible for me to, finance this $250 million project, but I did it.
See, but you're an outstanding human being, but a lot of people won't. So let's make it more relatable to the people that just want to do their best.
Sure. I think they need to understand the basic fundamentals first. What the human nature is easy. Human nature tries to complicate things, and then when you complicate things, you give up because it's easy to give up.
Exactly.
And that's part of maturation, and that's part of spiritual growth. I mean, all Kundalini awakenings and all spiritual practices are all cornered around meditation. And so it's that focus that you give a fuck about your body. You give a fuck about your longevity. There's a quote that I loved, and I put it out everywhere, is that I don't want to live forever, but I want to live young forever. Does that make sense? Because I get a lot of people constantly throwing energy at me while like, dude, don't you want to just have fun? Don't you want to live? Don't you want to live? And well, fuck yeah, dude. I want to live. I want to have like meaningful relationships. I want to see the world. I want to experience things, and I want to transition when I'm ready to transition. I don't want to transition based on a dogmatic, sick society. So,
and by the way, with those people, I think the best way to pretty much, I don't want to say preach, but help them understand, is to just be true to who you are and live your life. They will learn by example, not through your words.
Totally. I'm with you 100%. And
you just become brighter. You just look happier, and people want that.
True. Very true.
I completely agree. Understand who your local farmers are. Okay? Understand that the human body is not designed to be eating food every 3-4 hours. Okay, like find your window. Depending on like your career and how you work, find a window that makes sense. Maybe it's 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Maybe in that time you consume your basically caloric needs, and that can come in the form of superfoods. That can come in the form of traditional Chinese herbal medicine. That can come in the form of avocados. It can come in the form of all kinds of stuff. And I think another podcast we can get into detailed health as far as like what exactly people should eat, but really get into how it fits your lifestyle. And keep in mind, we can't be grazing all the time. We're not a cow. A cow has 4 stomachs. Yeah. And it sits there and it's grazing all day and it's chewing the grass. We have to pick a window to eat because it's those hours of fasting that causes repair in the body. Whenever I put a piece of food in my body, whether it's a McDonald's, what do you eat? A Big Mac?
I don't
I'm just kidding. Well, I know one of you guys eats In-N-Out once in a while. That has to be the case on this table.
I do. Man.
Okay. So whether you're eating an In-N-Out burger that's filled with GMO substances and probably about 1,500 to 2,000 different cows. Think about that for a second. Just think about that frequency when
cow cocktails.
Just think about that.
David's against cows, isn't he?
Well, I'm against the murder of any cow. Cow is the most sacred being. Cows are meant to nourish the land.
But he also
manure.
said we become cows through eating cows somehow. Like that whole he did this. he was talking about you. It's better to eat deer or elk or something like that. I think
wild game.
Yeah.
I'm not a big meat eater, but if I'm gonna eat meat, it's with a tribe that's caught it, burn the sage, burn the tobacco, and eaten the whole animal 100%.
So the intention was there.
Absolutely. It's all about intention.
Everything is.
The tobacco's after you eat the thing, right?
Tobacco's with it. And tobacco is really big because I love tobacco. Tobacco is an amazing plant that's been perverted. All the wonderful stuff, cannabis, tobacco, perverted. They've all been reworked. Where was I before? I was talking about
where to get food and stuff, and
so that they need to. So the frequency. So pick a window to eat. Our body can. So whether you're eating an In-N-Out burger or a sour sap on the tops of the Nepali coast in Kauai that's grown there for thousands of years, that's completely indigenous to that area, that is the most powerful antioxidant fruit in the world. Whether you're eating that or the In-N-Out burger, as soon as that enters your body, a billion reactions happen, a bit of cataclysmic reactions in the body, and your body shuts down its immune system response. Think about that for a second. No matter what it is. No matter what, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And so what does that tell you? So if you're spending 70, 80 years of your life grazing, think about how much stress you've put on the human body. Wow. As soon as you smell food, your saliva glands start, your liver releases bile, your kidney regulates salt. We are powerful animals. We are conscious of everything, and it's so important to respect that. So if you look at what monks are doing, you look at Taoist immortals, you look at the Shaolin, why are they fasting like that? Why do they eat once a week? What are they doing? Are they crazy? I used to think they're crazy. What are they doing? No, they know what they're doing.
Detoxing their body.
Their body's an autophagy. Autophagy is a system that your immune system's natural killer cells can respond to any problem in the body and fight it and kill it. Every time you go out in the sun, as soon as sun UV touches your skin, all of a sudden you're having mutations on your skin. It's your natural killer cells, your immune system that goes there and immediately fixes it.
Especially if you're light skinned like Cash.
Light skin, whatever.
Light skin brothers, all over.
He has the superiority complex, by the way. We could get to that in the other episode as well.
You're just inferior to me. That's it.
So the takeaway is frequency. Find a window to eat. Don't graze. My favorite window right now is around 4 p.m. to about 7:30 p.m. That's the time that I'll eat. In between that, I can consume herbs, anything that's non-caloric.
Cacao. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I had great success when I was on the ketogenic diet. But I didn't. I just.
What was your intention?
Long term.
What was your intention? Remember, intention is everything.
Sure. Intention was weight loss and also energy throughout the day. And what I got out of it was that I did get a lot of weight loss, more than I expected, more than I wanted. But besides that, I was pretty steady throughout the day. I didn't have any crashes. And also, I didn't get hungry as often. Not at all. Like 6, 8
Kinda
hours,
like being
10
on
hours.
Adderall sometimes. That's what
I wouldn't get hungry.
Well,
you know?
the reason why it feels like it's on Adderall is because
ketones.
well, the ketones and the dopamine and the serotonin that's released in your brain. Your body cannot release growth hormone, dopamine, serotonin, any type of brain chemical if you have food in your body.
And my doctor's trying to talk me out of it, and he's like, "That's not normal for the human being to feel that way."
What's he trying to talk you out of?
Out of being on ketogenic diets. He thinks that much fat, regardless of it being good or bad, is not good for the
Well,
system.
he's got a point. I mean, you can't take ketogenic diets started because of basically they were trying to figure out how are we going to reduce these massive obese people that are eating themselves to death. I mean, that's where keto took off. Keto was introduced before that. We run more optimally on fat than on sugar. So that's super critical. I mean, you can't go. I'm going ketogenic. Bring on the bacon. Bring on the hydrogenated oils. Bring on the
chicken thighs with skin.
No, dude. Food has a frequency. There's a power in that. Your cells replicate every second. Your body's doing mitosis every second. When your body is in a fasted state, it stops mitosis. Understand that real quick. This is huge because this has to do with stem cells, and it's a good transition into telomeres.
So you do that yourself. You're responsible for that segue to stem cells.
Okay, well, our body's constantly in a state of mitosis. So cells, we learned that in like what, second grade?
Sure.
Yeah, your cell division, your cells are replicating. There's certain cells in your body that don't interchange, but for the most part, in 60, 90 days, every cell in your body is going to be brand new. Think about that. It's just like let that like sink in. So if you're in a constant grazing state and you're constantly eating cooked food and poisons and all that stuff, your body's like, fuck, I gotta get all this shit out of here. I gotta detoxify. I got my lymph nodes, all just like a whole orchestra of all kinds of stuff. So your mitosis is happening, at a revolution of like, 100 hits per hour. Now imagine you compare a person who's eating that lifestyle, grazing constantly, that's constantly in that flux, and their cells are just rapidly going. Our bodies have a finite amount of mitosis. There's only a certain amount. It's already set in our DNA.
So you're depleting yourself.
So you're depleting yourself. So if you go fasted and you start creating and biohacking the rhythms of your body, you've all of a sudden...
Helps with aging.
One's a jackrabbit, one's a slow turtle. And in a year, that guy could have done... subject A could have had mitosis 1,000,000 times, and subject B maybe 100 times. Just think about that. Do you guys know where all your toxins are held in your body? In your fat.
Oh, interesting.
Think about that.
Didn't know that.
All your toxins are in your fat. So your fattiest organ is your liver. Just like think about that. And we're sitting here and we're drinking alcohol and we're doing all these things. Cheers. It's like it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable the amount of destruction.
He spilled it in his face.
But Chervin, I know like there's important things that you want to get to and you want to get to. But before we do that, I just want to know. So typical farmers markets in, let's say, LA, there's Santa Monica, there's 3rd Street. Are they any good or no?
Get online. Get online and research it. You got to you got to Google. Start Googling biodynamic farms. Google organic farms. You can look at them. There's a lot of them in Oregon, which I'm actually going to be transitioning up to Oregon part-time in the next couple months. Buying a cannabis farm up there and just going,
very cool.
Going for glory. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm really stoked on this.
Gotta visit.
Like, I have brothers up there that are like total tribe, and I can't wait to get out of Southern California for the most part. But
so research and find biodynamic farms and in general,
and they could ship it to you. I mean, you know what I mean? Look, we should be spending a little bit more on our food.
Yeah.
Like let's just like
that was my question.
Let's think
Is
about
it super expensive or
no? I mean,
affordable
it's like
compared to.
I mean, it's our DNA. It's our life. Like what's it worth?
Right. Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
But put your priorities. If your health is not your priority, then who gives a fuck?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And the niacin, Celtic salt, like trampoline, that stuff. Was that? Do you think those are? I mean, obviously our ancestors weren't waking up in the jungle and taking Celtic salt and jumping.
Sure
on
they
trampoline.
were.
So these are they were.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Okay.
were swinging from trees, which creates that G-force. They were jumping into spring water.
Mm-hmm.
They were accumulating the salts from the very foods that we
That
were
they
eating.
ate, the
All the
naturally ate.
foods that we have today. This is why I'm not a fan of a lot of veganism, and I get a lot of slack for it. Is because veganism is somewhat lacking to a certain degree. If you're on an island somewhere and you can grow your own food, and dude, go vegan, go for it, go for glory. Don't bring in that animal sacrifice. I'm so with that. But if you're living and playing in metropolitan cities, I don't think being on a vegan diet is sustainable. I just don't think it works. And so I think you do need to get cholesterol from certain eggs. I think you do need to get micronutrients from certain animals and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, just search online, find. I'll send you links.
I love that. Yeah, but basically, I wanted to know if this is just the things you mentioned. Those 5 things are supplements, or no? Naturally, those are things that our ancestors did do, and which you answered, and you said no. That's like by their natural habits, they did it.
Dude, we were taught that salt's bad for us. It's just like, think about that. Salt's one of the most amazing substances in the human body. If we didn't have salt in our body, we'd die within like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has to be not like iodized sea salt. It needs to, regular table salt. It needs to be. I prefer, just based on my experience. I spent some time in Iceland last year. I really understood the Scandinavian culture. I prefer Celtic sea salt over Himalayan. Himalayan has trace amounts of arsenic and iron oxide in it. That's why it gives it that pink color.
Yeah.
And we don't need iron. I mean, maybe a little bit for the women to have a little bit here and there, because they're dropping blood once a month on their moon cycle. But for the most part, we want Celtic sea salt.
Cool, man.
And activated charcoal, baby.
Good stuff, brother.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely. What's next?
Cacao.
You
What do you
were
wanna-
you were responsible for the
What do you
segue.
what do you want to do about, like, let's talk about cacao?
Yeah, we have. Well, no, we have how much?
I mean, we're at an hour.
Because at this
40.
point, whatever we say, something will have to be removed from the full. So let's make it good, or let's not make it good, because we have enough stuff.
How long?
Come back for
How
the
long did
second
we
episode,
run?
too.
Yeah,
Hour 40 minutes.
that was an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. Flies by.
It
when
doesn't
we-
feel like it, does it?
Did we just
you know
knock,
what?
Did we just knock that the fuck out?
It's a
Yeah,
beautiful
it's fun.
episode.
Did you guys have fun?
Oh, totally.
Beautiful
Big
episode,
time.
man.
Okay.
Loving it.
So here's
Okay.
the thing. Let's just bring it home, but I want you to bring it home with what you really want to talk about and
Okay.
what you feel like
Yeah.
can make a difference, and for people to experience maybe a small little shift in their lives. And maybe back to what you mentioned. So did you talk about subconsciousness?
Yeah. Dr. Bruce Lipton. Hold on, let me just get this right. Okay, so Dr. Bruce Lipton. Have you guys heard of him?
No.
Dr. Bruce Lipton was a geneticist in the 60s and 70s, and he was basically in the dogmatic medical system of saying that, we are designed the way we are because of our parents, and if we get this disease, or if we have this emotion, or if we're this way, it's because of our genetics. I grew up very athletic. I was dunking a basketball at like 17. I was sprinting. I was strong. All of these things, and everyone would always go, "Oh, it's your genetics," and then I started believing, "Oh, maybe it's my genetics." You know what I mean? And what Dr. Bruce Lipton discovered is that less than 0.5% of all diseases and ailments are genetic. They all have to do with the reality of your lifestyle and your surroundings and the ether that separates the human consciousness with the material physical reality. And he wrote a bunch of books. He went to the medical community and he said, look, we can't just say it's genetics. We can't diagnose these diseases based on genetics. It's all about the environment of the person. And so from there, he created a concept that's now world recognized, known as epigenetics. Have you heard of epigenetics?
Epigenetics, no.
Okay, so epi means above, right? So epigenetics comes before your genetics. And the powerful thing about epigenetics is that at any point through your subconscious, you can change everything in your life, not only your thoughts, but your actual physical immune response systems through meditation and whatnot. And with more and more research, you realize that we are all on bad programming. Our humans today are on programming that doesn't serve us. And the time that you receive the programming is from when you're in the womb, the third trimester in the womb, to about 7 years old. It's that age that your body picks up everything in the environment. Because that's when
and that's scientifically proven.
That's scientifically
There's a lot
proven.
of research on that.
Oh yeah, this isn't esotericism. This is human biology, and so that's fascinating. So, but it makes sense. Like when you're 2 years old and you meet someone, you're learning how to communicate with them because you're seeing other people do it. And then you're picking up all these things, sounds, smells, foods, all that stuff. And so our subconscious plays a big role in our life. But the problem is there was a poll that was taken, and they've done a lot of research. They say about 80% of our subconscious is bad programs. Just think about that. We're running off a bad program, and our subconscious is 50 million times stronger than our conscious.
Correct.
And I said this earlier when we started. I'll give you an example. And one of those examples is, when you're, I don't like talking on the phone. I think talking on the phone is ridiculous. I think it's the worst ever. There's so many better things to do than talking on the phone. When I drive my car is when I set up my phone calls. When I know I'm about to get on a drive, it's like, okay, I'm going to talk then. I've driven through the most ridiculous, craziest traffic you can ever imagine, driving 100 miles an hour in a sports car and whatever, going crazy, deep in conversation, deep, heavy, like I'm talking like really, really in the thickness of the conversation, and showed up to my destination and have no fucking clue how I got there. Literally, I can't recall anything on that drive. At all.
Yeah. Me and this guy miss exits all the time. We're in the car talking to each other always. Yeah.
Well, that means your subconscious isn't tuned in if you're missing the exit.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know where we're really supposed to go. We don't know the exit.
Okay. Well, that explains it.
Mad blunt, son.
Yeah.
That's funny because cannabis really tunes me in. We all react different to substances. Know that. Like really understand that.
Absolutely.
How it could help someone do this, it could do this for somebody else, and vice versa. Our cannabinoid structure in our body is so fascinating. So our subconscious is 50 million times stronger than our conscious
mind.
So what would happen if we go back into our subconscious and reprogram it and go off autopilot and get off the amnesia? And Bruce Lipton describes this very, very specifically. And I think it's the most fascinating subject today. I think it's what's helped me the most today. And I've been doing a lot of practices around it. I'd love to share what I've been doing to get into my subconscious.
I love that. Yeah, how to apply it to that. And to me, that's the most important thing too. I remember at some point in my life, I was like, everything is about the subconscious mind. This conscious mind, it's like the little machine, but there's something else
that's what drives you.
That's driving it. And then I started seeing human behaviors in regards to me and their responses. I didn't look what they do to me. I was looking at like, where is that really coming from? It's through their subconscious mind. So when somebody like tries to give you something and they drop it, there's probably the reason behind that and all that type of stuff. So I love how you're ending the show with this. Yeah, that's beautiful.
That was a great example.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, nothing is by chance.
Right.
There's no such thing as chance. It's impossible. It's mathematically been proven impossible that our lives are chance. Our lives are
nothing's by chance.
Nothing is by chance. Everything has a reason. Everything is synchronistic. That's the only way you can look at the probable universe, is that everything is perfectly the way it should be.
Even everything, interactions, meeting people, things that happen.
And I say synchronicity is proof that magic is real. That's what I believe in, and I live my life based on that belief now, and it's the truth.
Bravo, I like that. I'm in the magic realms for sure, especially in the psychedelic realm. But we're not going to get into that right now.
Yeah, we won't have time for that.
So just on the subconscious, so I'll give you a few tools.
Yeah.
So we're not 7 years old anymore. So how do we go and change our subconscious and really get in there and cause like some actual like real change? And one of the ways of doing that is through a practice of meditation before you go into bed. So our brains have different waves. You have alpha wave, theta wave, different hypnosis waves. And it's in the theta wave that our brain taps directly into the subconscious. The theta in a grown adult activates about 15 minutes before you go to bed. Think about that. So in that,
what does that mean? 15 minutes before you fall asleep.
So if you're in the, because you're consciously, you fall asleep.
Yeah.
You're in theta right then for 15 minutes. Then after 15 minutes, you start transitioning into delta.
Deep sleep.
Once you're in delta, then you're in rapid eye movement, REM,
Sure.
what have you. But that 15 minutes that you have just kind of gone out of it is the time where you can reprogram your subconscious. And by doing that, and there's certain practice, but just think about this. A majority of America is falling asleep to the TV. Just think about that for a second. Their subconscious is being hit with the television.
It's like a lullaby to most people.
They can't go to sleep without it. That TV is emitting a frequency. Forget about the content. I mean, the content enough is ridiculous. I mean, what they're saying is such an abomination. But there's
How about Rob Kardashian and Black China shows?
Shout out to Cardi B now.
It's a satanic hertz. It's a it's an unharmonic hertz. Our body's tuned in to certain frequencies, and it's unharmonic. It disables our immune system. It destroys our whole feeling. We can't sleep right. We wake up in the morning sporadic. We're completely untuned. Ever since I started doing this theta training, it's literally been almost 180-degree change in my life. So I'm doing binaural beats. I'm using headphones. I'm using a neurophone, which is it's another whole discussion. But I'm using basically binaural beats that I've recorded my own content back on 432 hertz, beautiful binary beats.
I've never thought about that. As many hypnosis videos that I've listened to before going to bed, I never thought about doing that, which is great because the subconscious will pick up on that voice. Better than any
other voice.
Yeah.
Better than any other vibration.
And not creepy at all, because you know a lot of those voices are creepy with the hypnosis people.
Completely.
Yeah, right?
I'm totally there with you.
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. Oh, dude, I've been in a village in the middle of Peru, somewhere random, and I heard a frequency that just like put me on my knees. You know, like it's just harmonics is everything. It's all vibration. Sound is everything. You know, we're completely controlled by it. So I'm doing the mantra. I'm doing the binary beats. I'm really getting into patterns, and what I've noticed is I feel like I'm unlocking genius. I feel like I'm tapping into a part of my brain and a part of my conscious that I have never been able to, and it's not some like nootropic or pill that I'm taking.
It's the source.
Yeah, it's my internal value and my internal like perseverance, and I'm like tapping into my childhood self. I'm now having memories of my mom holding me. I'm having memories
that back. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm having memories of planting. It's all there. I mean, it's all there. Everything's stored in there.
Have you done past life regression therapy?
Multiple times.
Like, you believe in that?
Absolutely. I mean,
Really?
We're gonna bring somebody on the show that does that.
Dude, for sure. I'd love to tune in for that one. We're on a karmic cycle. I go into the subconscious with one training, and it might sound morbid to some people, but it's called a 9-point death meditation. This has really ascended me into the samadhi. Are you familiar with samadhi?
Right.
Samadhi is the functioning, practicing of
or nirvana,
dying.
basically.
Well, nirvana is hitting paradise. It's hitting Shambhala. Samadhi is the preparing to die before you die, preparing for the physical death, because we're this is an avatar. And when you're in deep subconscious work and you're in that subconscious frequency, then all of a sudden you start doing stuff like samadhi, which is the 9-point death meditation. You picture all your loved ones, everyone that you know is going to die. You're susceptible to any little microorganism can kill you. You're on a moving train that no matter what happens, it can't stop. An hourglass is going, and no matter what, that's your life. Everybody on Earth today, no matter what happens, is going to be transitioning at some point within 100 years.
Yeah.
You start really like processing what death means.
So ego death is what we're talking about, or
no, physical death.
Physical death.
This has nothing to do with your ego. This is really getting to the learning to die is what all these sacred medicines are. I'll leave it at that. When you're talking about ayahuasca, when you're talking about dimethyltryptamine, when you're talking about toad medicine, when you're talking about cambo, when you're talking about lysergic acid, LSD, when you're talking about all these different psilocybin and mushrooms, it's all preparing for death. Our etheric body separates by flooding the body with dimethyltryptamine. Dimethyltryptamine comes into the body when you're born. It comes into when you're in your 49th week in the womb, and it also comes upon death. So it's channeling that vortex, that frequency where you rip a fabric in time and you can dive right deep into that. It's when you get on that other side, everything in your reality changes. All of this material world, my face, my bones, my skin, how my abs, how I'm flexing my abs all the time. None of that means shit.
Yeah. That's essentially what Neo saw in the Matrix, pretty much, right?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, that's part of it. Here's a funny thing. Did you know the Wachowski brothers that created
Wachowski sisters?
Or not the Wachowski sisters?
Yeah. Fucking, that blew my mind, by the way.
And we'll get another conversation. We'll talk about the occult. We'll talk about our cosmology. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about NASA. We'll talk about how NASA was created by Werner von Braun, who was the German Nazi scientist who worked with Aleister Crowley to create NASA. Aleister Crowley is the head of the Satanic Church. And I'll leave you with one last thing. Rudolf Stiener in 1912, 1913 said this quote. He said, "The Luciferian doctrine will be running half-cocked with the illusionary astrology of the 21st century." Now, did you grasp that? You want me to say that one again?
One more time.
Okay,
say it in simple words.
I'll say, okay, so the Luciferian doctrine, so basically the dark energy, okay, so the dark energy will be going completely berserk, out of control, with the illusionary astrology, by creating a false illusion of where we are, okay, of the 21st century. He said that in early 1900s.
Rudolf Steiner?
Rudolf Steiner said that in the early 1900s.
Wow.
50 years later, NASA was created. In 1969, we had the fake moon landing. I mean, just one of the I'm all about Vedic astrology. All my dharma, everything has tuned me into the Bhagavad Gita, has tuned me into Hinduism. Hinduism is where I found a home. I'm not telling anyone that's where you need to be, but out of all the philosophies I've ever come across, Hinduism means everything to me. And if you study Vedic astrology is the true determining astrology of our human environment. And everything that the Vedics believe has been completely perverted by NASA. We are not on a spinning ball, spinning 1,008 miles per hour, 64,000 miles an hour around the sun.
The Earth is flat.
So
I'm not saying I'm not.
believe in the flat Earth?
I'm not.
Or?
I'm what?
Save it.
Yeah.
No,
It's not about a flat Earth.
Though? Why do we have to be 1.5 hours? Why do we have to be 2 hours? Fuck it. Let's go 3 hours.
We're good.
I think another time we'll talk about it, but just understand.
You're scared of judgment.
Dude, I'm one of the most outspoken
I know,
flat earthers out there.
He wants to get you
I was
fired
on
up.
I was on the Flat Earth panel at Lightning in a Bottle in 2016 with my dear friend Dream Rockwell, who's the founder of Lightning in a Bottle, who's one of my sisters, and me and my cousin David Wolf, and who else was on that? Eisenhower, which is Dwight Eisenhower's granddaughter. She's a spiritual person. And Savan Bomar. We were all on this panel together, and we really, it's been a magical ride for me. Look, it's not about me believing that the Earth is a ball or the Earth is flat. That's not the big deal. The big deal is, why would they be lying to us? And that's something that I can discuss later, and I've gone extremely deep on that. And it's not
to talk about that.
Some of the biggest thought speakers out there, the most brilliant minds that I've been mentored by, are all on the understanding that what we've been told is a complete lie, everything, so that's pretty much
and
it.
This does not mean that we're doomed. This doesn't mean that dark energy is ruling us. I still believe the same way he found liberation from within, and he's no longer worried about talking about those conspiracy stuff, because now you have faith and you believe in the truth, and it has set you free. So no matter what happens, we're not doomed. And love is powerful, and tapping into love, we will find the answers that we need. With that being said, I'm out. You go.
Well, I mean, that subject that you just brought up, I mean, it's so deep into something that I've been doing so much research on, and I'd love to have you on again to speak about it.
I'd love to break down every angle
there's so
of it.
much. So I love
it's
that.
Unbelievable.
You know? Yeah,
So
Sometimes...
I've been talking to pilots for the last couple weeks. Dude, I mean, most pilots now are like...
My brother's a pilot.
Okay,
actually,
so you talk to him. The main, I'll leave it with this. The main instrument on an airplane is a gyroscope. Gyroscope is what keeps the wing straight. It snaps flat to horizon. And if you're 40,000 feet in the air going 800 miles an hour, if your wing's off like 2 degrees, you're going in a whole different trajectory, right? So imagine we're on a ball, right? How does a gyroscope work on a ball? It doesn't account for curvature. So if you're flying from, let's say, like Reykjavik, Iceland to, let's say, Seattle, right? You'd obviously be going on a curvature. The ball circumference of the Earth is 25,000
You don't
miles.
think like the size of the plane compared to the size of the Earth like would affect that?
I don't understand what that means. That doesn't make any sense. If we're on a ball, forget about it spinning. I'm not even like going to get to that.
Yeah.
Just a stationary ball. Just think of your own perception flying on a plane at that speed. The nose would have to be dipping down the whole time in order not to fly off this infinite ball.
Yeah.
And at any height, the horizon snaps to eye level. Next time you're on an airplane, I'm sure you guys fly a lot, take a look at the airplane. Take a look at exactly what you see.
The opposing this is such a big argument that we could, not argument, but like debate that we could have later on. But I mean, a mosquito on a beach ball potentially could look flat, right? I mean, it's so small compared to the size of the Earth.
Well, I mean, it's a simple equation, and I've done the math. So I've done the spherical trigonometry. So on a 25,000 mile ball circumference, there's an equation to get you the drop off in distance, right? So that equation is the distance in miles squared gives you the height in inches. And so a lot of researchers are out there. They're researching this, and they're taking laser equipment, they're doing camera equipment, and they're shooting 100 miles, which should give you 2,000 feet of drop off. I'm in Laguna Beach, dude. I stare at Catalina every day.
Sure.
Catalina from where I'm standing is 34 miles away. 34 miles based on the curvature equation, based on what they gave us. I didn't make up that equation, right? Should be a drop off of 1,240 feet. 1,240 feet. I'm looking directly at the shore.
Sure.
Just think about that for a second. There's no sense of curvature. Why is the United Nations flag a flat Earth with 33 degrees in it? Why is the United Nations symbol a flat Earth flag? What the hell are they doing? Why is that?
I feel like someone designed that.
No. Nothing is by chance.
Yeah.
I think we learned that.
Yeah.
Everything is symbolism. They put everything in our face. The CBS logo, the AOL logo, the logos of all these different things.
Why is the NASA one?
NASA's full on, dude.
Basically, what I'm saying is like I totally. It's so easy to believe that the government is lying to you, NASA is lying to you, this and this agency is lying to you. But there's actually a lot of scientists in the world from different countries that they don't belong to any specific group or agency, and that I feel like there's people who could do the calculations who they would kind of they'd be whistleblowers to speak out about it. But why not?
What calculations? I mean, do you know everything? Astronomical physics is all theoretical, right? So they don't know that like some people forget that they think everything is real. It's all theoretical. We think the sun is 93.2 million miles away.
Yeah.
We think the moon is 239,000 miles away. We think that the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon and 400 times farther away, which is why they appear to be the same size to our eyes.
Sure.
Think about that. They just make that up. They don't know. That length of 93 million miles has changed 175 times in the last 150 years, ever since Copernicus came out with the spinning ball theory.
Sure. But how come more scientists? Because I mean, I said, they don't belong to any specific thing, right? I mean, students.
Don't be a nail that stands above the rest. You're the first one to get hit. It's social dogma. We're in a situation where if you say something as egregious as flat Earth, you'd be ostracized. You'd be pegged as a psychopath. You'd be pegged as a weirdo. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. We've been dealing that with thousands of years.
Yeah.
That's just where we're at. Look, I'm not saying the Earth is flat. I'm just telling you, I can't prove we're on a spinning ball.
Yeah,
and that's it.
I'm open to anything. That's what I'm saying. I'm just not gonna accept something like that.
You need to do the research.
Exactly.
And you need to have the
But at the same time, I don't have the expertise. Even if I do the research, I don't think necessarily to become an expert and say, okay, I just, I read a bunch of shit online, I read a bunch of books, and now I know the earth is flat or round. You know what I mean? It's just...
I didn't do that. So what I did was I trusted my senses first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everything that I perceive in my physical reality is that we're flat and motionless. Water, if you know the physics of water will go anywhere to find the level rest. Wherever you pour it, it will push itself to find a flat area. Okay? It's impossible for water to stay on a ball.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. All my senses show me that the cosmology, the heavens, the sun, the moon are rotating around me. The North Star has never moved. Polaris has never moved. They can't even explain that. If we're spinning at the astronomical speed, how has the North Star never moved? And why are they lying to us? Why is the NASA budget $3.8 trillion? How come the longest held peace treaty in the world is the Treaty of Antarctica? What are they doing over there? What's happening? And could it be that consciously by not letting us know where we are in this system, because the Vedics were very clear. In order for true understanding of the Maya, the illusion of self, you must know where you are.
If it's heliocentric or if it's like the Earth is the center. So,
but you must know where you are.
Yeah.
Know that. And if we're just on a spinning ball going a million miles an hour, and every movie every year is some kind of apocalyptic movie of something crashing into us or whatever, this and that, and we're in that fear, what happens? We become materialistic. We become nihilistic. We care about hoarding everything. We're not in a conscious state, because at any second, none of this matters.
Yeah.
So
if the Earth is flat, and we're the center. Do we not want to talk about this anymore? No. I was wondering what would you say is a reason? What are your sense? Because you said you go by what your senses tell you and how things feel. Sure. Because we do see the other planets and other stars that are pretty round, right? Do you agree to that or no?
Well, they're spherical. They're circular by our optics. That's it. We have no idea what that even means. That's where I'm at. I mean, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a gas. They tell us the stars are. Do you know the numbers they're giving us? It's just be logical here. Yeah. The nearest star is 2.4 trillion miles away. The nearest stars, most of them are in the 50s, 100s. Yeah. The human eye can't see more than 175 miles. On a clear atmospheric day with no particles in the atmosphere, the human eye maximum can see from like San Diego to maybe like Ventura County on a hill.
Sure, but
we can see 2.4 trillion miles away. It's just a lot of stuff that's been turned into science has become religion. Science is a new religion. They call it scientism.
Yeah, I mean, science changes all the time, and that's the whole. One of the basic premise of science is that it could change, and with testing things it should come out. And I'm not saying
things. That's what we need. We need the scientific. It's called the scientific
method. So not that
method.
all science is right, because it does change, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily wrong because someone else is telling you something.
Science should have no bias, meaning that you should not care about what the outcome is. Does that make sense? So a true scientific project where you're doing an experiment, where you're using alchemy, when you're geometrics, mathematical calculus, physics, doesn't matter. Whatever you're using, you need to not have no bias on what your calculations afford you as far as the end result. Yeah. So we can't have bias on what we want. And so I just feel like with science today, with science over the last 75 years, and everything that we've been told, they have a lot of reasons for telling us certain things. So we'll leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that, and we'll get into it on another episode. Man, we still have stuff on diet to talk.
I'd love to get into stem cells next time.
Yeah.
We're doing.
Touch on.
I'm not going to say blessed, because blessed means be blessed. That's another word magic. But I have so much gratitude to be in the position that I am in with my tribe, being able to go and do these types of treatments that are just unbelievable. It's changing everything. As much as I'm into the esoteric wisdom, I'm also really a fine student of our human biology and where technology can take us. I think that's fascinating. So yeah, guys,
we love that. And please also for the listeners and viewers, tell them your Instagram account.
Well, he doesn't have to, because we're gonna add that thing on top right when you come on the show. We're gonna add that. We're gonna put up his Instagram and all that, so you don't need to shout it out.
Okay.
All right.
But just if you want to do a closeout, so
Um,
and make a promise that you're gonna come back right on the air. So word is bond. Don't forget about that.
Dude, word is completely bond. I've befriended Tupac Shakur's brother, Maprim Shakur. We've become pretty close friends over the last couple of years. And most people that knew me knew that I was a Tupac fanatic. And I think out of everyone in San Diego, all the Persians, I was like the only, like, I was going berserk with Tupac, and a lot of Iranians had that feeling. And so
For sure.
I'm committed to staying in my truth, and I'm committed to continuing this journey. I'm only here tonight. I mean, I get asked to go on these things all the time. I'm only here tonight because it's because of you guys. And I also thought it would be impactful for a certain demographic of the Iranian community to know what's up, and to know that we can evolve, and we can go from a certain caliber of man and manifest and evolve into another certain of man. So I have a lot of gratitude for you guys. I look forward to getting to know you guys a little bit more when the time works. And
Thank you.
dude, bless it.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Yeah,
Thanks.
You
Absolutely.
definitely exceeded expectations. I knew you're gonna be good, but not as good as you have. And I just want to thank you so much for committing to the drive, making the time, but as honest as and vulnerable as you have been.
Sure.
That means a lot to me, brother. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure, guys.
Thanks
My
for
pleasure.
everybody for tuning in.
Likewise.
And once again, as Cash wants you to know, make sure to subscribe to our
So-
channel.
So
for
yeah, let me
updates.
do that, because there's a lot of people watching on here right now. They want to know what. So this is NomadLand, right?
NomadLand Podcast.
Okay, so NomadLand. Okay, so like we're nomads in the Andes. So that's NOMAD Land, LAND podcast, and these guys are turning the cheek into consciousness, and they're on it. So much love. Let's give them support.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Coming, bro.
Absolutely, guys.
Amazing.
All
All right, everybody.
Nomad out.
Nomad out.
Nomad
Have
out.
a good one.
Nomad out.
That was tight. That was good.
That was intense and nice.
Step
And
on the path.
everything in between.
Beautiful. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
You brought it. You really brought it.